Okay, so I think everyone has an impact of their childhood. Whether what they become later on in life, there is a big impact which is there. So when I was young during my school days, I learned watercolor. I learned painting, and specifically it was through watercolor. I think that later on had an impact on my photography. That transformed into photography. That gave me an idea about what art is all about, what composition is all about, what aesthetics is all about. But I don't think that had a direct impact on street photography later. But overall, I think it's art to art. So I think always we can say that art to art is somewhere equivalent to heart. So that way, I think there was an impact, but not, I would say, that directly to street photography, which came later on. And in the subsequent questions, I will address that, how it happened. So that was it. I think the answer is already inbuilt in the question. When you say that many and many self-taught photographers are doing a great job, I think it means it. So I believe that a large part of the photography community that you see, or photographers that you see and their work on a day-to-day basis, most of them, whatever I know, are self-taught. But I think there is a value of learning any form of art. It's a bit like academics. So you need to know the science behind it. You need to know the techniques behind it, which is basically, and then marry it with your sense of aesthetics and creativity, and then you transform it into the form of arts. But does not necessarily mean that street photography has to be learned. But if you study the work of great artists, photographers who are very good street photographers, you will draw a lot of inspiration. You will have your self-learning. I think it's not about being formally trained in a college about photography or street photography, but I think learning through their work is also a bit of self-learning, and also kind of being self-taught. So I think yes, self-teaching is very, very important when it comes to street photography. I learned it myself. I learned a little bit of photography when I was young, but that was not specifically to street photography. I think street photography, I learned it myself when my interest came up. And if you already have a trained eye, some people really have a keen sense of observation when they're in any place, when they observe the surroundings very well and then relate it and correlate it. So if you already have a very trained eye, then you are already you have it there. Then you require practice, because nothing can be practice cannot be substituted with anything. So even if you're a very good student, for example, but you don't practice on a day-to-day basis, so will that help? I don't think that will help, being only an intelligent student. So intelligence here is equivalent to almost the sense of observation, the sense of reflex that you have, which somewhat can also be later trained. If you don't have it, you train your eyes according to that. But then at the end of the day, I mean, it's not just about clicking the camera and taking any pictures on the street. You can go around and you can take a lot of pictures, but the real one is when you click the moment, when you know that this is something which, if I would have not clicked, the moment would have gone, and probably that moment will never come back. That is when you excel. And then and to reach that level, I don't think academically you need to be sound about it. It requires a lot of practice, training your eyes, which has a sense of observation, and also failures teach you a lot. So I believe that when you keep failing, I think there are days when we don't have even a single photograph, and that's okay, that's perfect. But when you really get to know that why you failed, I think then you get the answer. So it is much more than somebody formally teaching you in a classroom or in a college. But yes, if you can really get to learn the advanced skills from somebody, if you have a guru or a mentor, nothing like it. I mean, it really works. So that's my take on whether you need to be whether a self-taught photographer can be a good photographer or not, or you need to learn the tricks of it. So according to me, a good picture is very simple. You scroll across so many pictures nowadays, whether it is Facebook, whether it is Instagram, or whether it is through a book. The picture which catches your attention, where you stop, where you pause, you look at the picture for more than 2 to 3 minutes or 4 minutes, that is a picture for me. And the one which you don't forget. So if you like the picture, you remember that picture forever. So just an analogy to Steve McCurry's cover photo of the National Geographic, which is the very famous photograph, the Afghan girl, for example. I mean, I remember it when I saw it in my childhood days, when I was much younger, I was in college. The first time I saw it, I never forgot that photograph. Those eyes, I've never forgotten them. The color in that photo, the composition of that portrait, I've never forgotten. So to me, any picture where you get stuck to, where you get hooked, and which haunts you back, and you keep remembering that photograph, is a good photograph for me. Okay, so much later, when I was already shooting in the streets and all, much later I realized that what I do in the streets, what I take, is formally called street photography, but that's not important. The second part of the question is more important to me. So what do you admire about street photography? So to me, street photography, I think the most important thing or the most important thing that I admire about it is the uncertainty of the moment. So everything is uncertain. You don't know that when you will have a magical moment which will be forever probably one of your best frames that you have clicked in your life. You don't know that. That's the beauty of street photography, and that uncertainty where you as I say, that you don't know what is going to happen next. I think that is the best thing about it, and that keeps your mind always going. That keeps you thinking that what is next, where do I look around. So I think that is something which is very important. So in this reference, I just wanted to show that. So this is my book, which is on Kolkata. I just wanted to give, when I say that is the moment, I think this is what I actually mean. If you see this picture, okay, you will see that, I mean, this is the moment which made this picture, and I didn't knew that this moment is going to come. The baby was there. This was on Eid, and during Eid, this is in Red Road where Eid is celebrated. And there was this family, and I was just passing by. I saw this small little baby also dressed up in their way to celebrate. And this was a moment which, I took 2, 3, 4 shots if I look at the contact sheet, but this was the moment which was the moment I was looking for. And this picture is in my heart because of this particular moment. The way the father is handing the baby over here, the way this baby is smiling, the way everyone is looking at the baby. This is the moment which I wanted to capture. So just as a reference, I thought that this would actually demonstrate what I wanted to say. There are many in fact. When you are shooting for such a long time and you have so many encounters in the street, I think there are many. But just incidentally, just to narrate a particular incident, one of my shot in 2017, it was taken in Varanasi. That was the shot which probably many people have seen, and when people came to know about me. So I was shooting on the ghats, and that's the picture of that, the person walking, and the shadow of the head has fallen on the white linen which was hand the laundry which was hanging, and the face shadow was there, and the body was separated from the shadow. So that was the picture, and that time it was really, the first of its kind. So I was the first person who created this differential frame of that shadow. And I remember the story behind it is that we were 3-4 of our friends. We went to shoot Dev Deepavali. The previous evening in Dev Deepavali, people were shooting the way, regular frames and all. Next day early morning, light was beautiful, and we were walking by the ghats. Then there was this area where you have these laundries all, in a row on the rope. As we were passing by, suddenly I saw that somebody was passing from the other side of the laundry. So the light was coming, the shadow was falling on the clothes, and the head was ahead and the man was behind. I noticed this, but by the time I could take that, the man was gone. So I noticed it, and I just sat down there casually as if I'm very tired, because I didn't want others to see that thing. But eventually, when I was sitting there, people also were hanging around closer by. Then they observed me that I had seen a canvas, and I knew that I was waiting for somebody again to pass by. And then when people started passing by, and I started taking shots. So, in these kind of scenarios, you don't get the perfect shot. Unless you get the perfect shot, you keep shooting. Okay, but then, by the time my friends already had seen me shooting, so they also started shooting. But nobody had, whichever frame they had clicked, nobody had given that frame, because that is what is also a beauty of, being together, that you respect each other's, observations. So that was something which I observed. So none of my friends actually, I don't know whether they have been able to click that or not, but I'm sure that they were able to click it, but nobody had given it. I have not seen people giving it in social media and all. So mine was the only one which was original in that. And after 4-5 attempts, I got the right, picture. But everything was candid. When people were just walking by, I was trying to get the perfect shot. So that is one of the story I thought I'd narrate. Oh yeah. Initially, it was me. It was all about me. I used to set up my own challenge, and the hunger was more coming from, that I need to excel, I need to do more, I need to get recognized, and everyone wants recognition. Today, even, great photographers, they became great because they had this hunger in them, and they wanted to showcase their work. And I'm sure that they must have come into the bigger forums, platforms. Many people who who didn't have the help of social media those days came up in the form of books, exhibitions, and grand prizes that they have won in several big contests. So every photographer wants that. So initially it was me challenging myself, my challenging my standard next day. So when I used to go out, when I will go out tomorrow, today will become a benchmark for me, and I always wanted to excel from what I did on the previous day. But very interestingly, what keeps me inspiring even today, after 10 years of shooting, is the tremendous amount of work that we see on the social media platform that the youngsters are doing, for contemporary photographers are doing. So much of photos get posted each day on social media, and some are really good. So when you see these kind of photos, I think that keeps me inspiring, and that also challenges me. Am I becoming complacent about my skills? Am I becoming too much lazy about things? So that keeps me challenging. I think that's the best part of it. I often don't believe in interacting with the subject. I never interact when I'm shooting in the streets. I never interact with my subject. I don't go very closer to become intimate with them. That's because if you have to capture candid moments, you have to keep it that way. So that's the thing. And this other thing is that documenting things on the streets, taking pictures sometimes becomes difficult, of course, but there are tricks of it. So there are places, crowded places, where if you are flocking around with your camera and all, people don't notice. Keep your gear very simple, small, so that people don't see you with a large camera and get afraid of it. Then there are there are places where people are, as I mentioned, that photographer friendly. So go and shoot there more, to practice, to get rid of your fear. And slowly, out of experience, you'll realize that it's you can sense it, that who's going to object to you, or who's going to which place is not very friendly to photographers. So avoid those places, but there are immense opportunities which you get to see everywhere, where you can shoot. So there are quite a few locations that is there in my mind. Firstly, if I say Kolkata, which is my home city, Mallik Ghat is one of the most favorite places of mine. Near the Howrah Bridge, you have the flower market there, and I think many of the photographers who don't stay in Kolkata also know about this place. That's the place where I go back. And Maidan is another place which during winter specifically, you get the mist and fog, and you get that environment. These are the two very frequented places by me. And if I talk about a city, then other than Kolkata, I think it's Varanasi, okay, where I go back and like to shoot. Now, why? Because these places, as I said, gives you a lot of photo opportunities, and every time you go over there, I mean, you get something different. And if you know the locality, that helps in one way. That also sometimes becomes a deterrent for you. So if you too frequently go to a particular place, you may not get good frames every time. But then people are friendly out there. Friendly in the sense they are friendly to the camera. So without fear you can shoot, without any inhibition you can shoot. Even if you are alone, you go there, you shoot. So these are some of the advantages. In Varanasi, for example, Varanasi is used to seeing photographers thronging that place along the ghats. So I don't think that these are the places where people will object to you. So these are good places to go and shoot. Yes, street is sometimes quite similar to a travel photograph, related to a travel photograph, not, but there is a fine line which divides it. So to me, a street photograph is something which captures a moment. You don't have to be in a place to do it. You don't have to show a specific place to reveal that it's a street photograph. So that's not required. A travel requires that. So a travel photograph can be created again and again. If you go to say Taj Mahal, for example, and you are taking the picture of Taj Mahal or something happening in front of it. However, a street photograph need not have anything of that sort. It's the moment that you capture on a daily life, the daily activities that happens on the street in a public place is what is a street photograph. But something which what makes it stand apart, as you say, a moment which is not seen ordinarily. Somebody who passes by will not see it, but you as a street photographer has to see it and then freeze it. And when you show it to somebody, wow, was this there? I didn't see it, I missed it. So that is what to me is the wow moment, which we say the decisive moment. So a street photograph should necessarily have that decisive moment in it, and that makes it apart from all. No, certainly I'm not a full-time photographer. So I do photography out of my love and passion, at least as of now. I work for a multinational company, and I'm at a senior level, so my job also requires me to travel a lot, and there are very, very hectic days which my job require. But I always believe that the 24 hours time is available for everyone. I mean, it's not something that I have only 12 hours a day or somebody has 48 hours a day. No, 24 hours is standard for everyone. We sleep around 8 hours if we sleep a little more. The rest of the time, how we utilize it is up to us. So I always believe that if you have a right balance to approach life, then you can do most of the things. But you have to prioritize as well. So I have prioritized three things in my life. One, which is my profession, two, which is my family, and the third, which is my photography. And I don't indulge into any other thing, because if I indulge into other things, I think then this 30% time which I give to photography, I will not be able to give. So that is my mantra about how I balance myself. I give adequate time to my family as well, so that I learn from them as well many things. I mean, life is not about only photography. You have to learn from different spheres of life. I think that balance, striking that balance, is what is very, very important. So for street photography, I don't think editing is a very, very important thing. So keep it very, very minimum, and I don't think you need to spend more than 1 to 1.5 minutes on processing each of the photographs. Basic cropping, brightness, contrast adjustment is what I think it should be there. If you have to do too much of editing, I don't think then the photograph is the right one. My steps are very simple. I do a little bit of level adjustment to adjust the balance the histogram. Little bit of curve adjustment. I don't use brightness contrast, so curve itself saturates a little bit of the contrast and color. Black and white conversion and a bit of cropping. That's it. Nothing more. Okay, this is a very interesting question. I don't think in photography or any form of art you can say that this is a perfect song, this is a perfect painting, this is a perfect photograph. I don't think we can say that. There are quite a few of my personal best, you can say, and I mean, it's very difficult to point out few things, but since you have asked me this question, I think I can show it through my work. So this is one of the images which was taken in Malikhat, and as I said, this is the flower market, and this is a small family which stays in the flower shop. So at around 12 o'clock midday, they close down their shop, and this is their family. In the morning and in the evening again, it turns to be the flower shop for them. So as one day when I was shooting, this moment came to my notice, and there's that small family having a pug which is also part of their family, and this is a beautiful family moment that I have captured according to me. It's not perfect though, because as I mentioned that there is no perfection. And then you can say that this is one more shot which is there, which you can see over here. This is why this is good for me and personal best, because this has been featured in many places, not because of that, but because of the light, because the way the color saturation is, and believe me, this is the original color temperature which is there. No saturation has been done, nothing has been done, and there is high contrast. This is a high contrast image. You have the silhouette over there. So similarly, there are some photographs which probably are a personal best for many photographers like me, but I don't think we can say that there is a perfect shot. A very interesting question, but there cannot be a comfortable moment on the street with the camera when you are a street photographer. So the first thing that we have to understand is life will never be comfortable when you are outside, but you have to make yourself comfortable. So firstly, 2-3 things that I follow, not necessarily that you have to follow. The gear with which you are very comfortable, I think use that gear. In general, as a tip, I think you should use a small gear for street photography. It could be a small mirrorless camera, it could be your mobile phone as well, or it could be any other small camera. So a small camera is essential. A fixed lens, probably a very flat lens, is something which also helps at times to make the camera body a little smaller. Why you require a small camera? Because you can get disguised in the crowd. So people may not watch you with a, typically when you are with a bigger camera, people typically will watch you as a photographer. They'll become a little alert, they'll become scared of you. That does not happen when you have a small camera just hidden on your hand, and you have to keenly observe. So the most important technique is that you keep observing what is happening around, and you anticipate. You have to be anticipative in nature. Like when you're driving a car, you generally have to be very anticipative that this can happen. So the car which is coming from the opposite side might somewhere take a turn like this, and so I have to be preemptive about it. I think for street photography also, you need to be very alert and preemptive, and be alert and to anticipate a moment which is coming in front of you. That is another technique that is very, very important other than observation. And a small camera will help you to hide yourself from being watched or from being noticed. So this is the first important thing that we should follow. The second thing is the technique. So whichever technique in terms of the camera settings you are comfortable with, do that. So I generally prefer to shoot in an aperture priority mode. So you set your aperture when you have normal ambient light. I set my aperture at 8, minimum at f8, and then automatically the shutter speed takes on, and my ISO is normally between 500 to 600 during the daytime in sunlight, because I don't bring it down to 100, because nowadays cameras perform very well on a little higher ISO, so no problem with that. Only thing it ensures is a faster shutter speed. Unless I want to do some bit of slow shutter or something like that, that's a different ball game altogether. But in general, my objective as a street photographer, that is my perspective, is to watch out for that beautiful decisive moment, and for that the moment is very important for me rather than the camera setting. Sometimes you may go wrong with the camera setting. Sometimes there might be a little bit of more noise, a little bit of more underexposed image. That's all okay, can be corrected if required in the Photoshop, but the moment is very important. Don't miss that moment. That's my tip. Okay, so very interesting question, and I think this is one of the questions when people ask, would people like me with gray hairs would always tend to give advice to people, but most importantly, before I give it to them, I think what is more important is even today. Not even today, I'm not a great photographer, but I keep telling myself, even after 10 years of practicing street photography, I keep telling myself every day when I realize that there is a long way to go. I keep telling myself, beta, you have only learned 10% of it. You have just scratched the surface. So there are a lot of things that you need to do. There are a lot of things that you can explore, not only in terms of places which have beautiful settings for street photography, not only places, but also there are you can create a lot of new ideas in street photography. I think that is where we should all strive to make our next day more better than what it was before. I think whether you are a beginner or whether you are mid-experienced like me, or whether you are a very senior experienced photographer, I think what is important is that learning never ends, and we always have to keep that hunger going on in our inside us, that we should not be satisfied with what we are doing, and we should always strive to improve ourselves the next day when we are out in the field with the camera. So that's my only advice, that never be satisfied with what you are doing. Yes, of course, people will recognize your good work, but then your scale always has to be that I have not learned enough. So let me have that open mind, and let me go ahead and keep that learning phase going, which is very, very important. And learning is also about unlearning. So what you learn today might not be very relevant tomorrow. And also in today's context, if you are learning something, give it back to others. That is the way we can pass on our learnings to others and help each other out. And change is also very, very important. Today, what I'm learning today may not be relevant tomorrow. So I need to also continuously change and adapt myself to my styles, to my techniques, and also to the type of photographs that I'm creating. street photography has taught me everything about life. I think it made me much more disciplined. It made me a better human being. It made me become more humble than what I was. And it made me connect to people every day. So when I'm on the streets looking out for my subjects, I think I look out for life. And and I look out. So as a photographer, I think it's very important that you express yourself through your photographs. So the day when I'm happy, I think my frames tell similar stories. The day I am not happy and I'm depressed about something, my actions, even when I am with the camera, is very very suppressed, depressed, and that comes out somewhere in the frames. And more importantly, I think to me it is all about refueling myself. It gives me oxygen when I go out. I mean, for me, taking photographs, taking to the streets with my camera is like oxygen in my life. So honestly speaking, it's all about life. It's you can connect every dot to the day-to-day life, and it has made me personally much more organized, much more observant. So I became a very keen observer of things, and it made me also concentrate a lot in my mind. So when any form of art, for that matter, when you are doing when you are practicing it, I think it makes you much more composed. It makes you much more disciplined in life. It makes you much more organized, and that helps a lot when it comes to your personal life. So these are some of the things that I've learned. I think many of you who are listening to me have also experienced a similar thing through photography, and not only street photography but photography in general.